an example and a beacon of light for our sport for decades. Not only as an athlete, but a coach and a business leader who young athletes many years ago, like myself, really looked up to and sought to be like you. You were really one of the first wrestlers to reach out into the business world, into commerce, and show that great wrestlers can be successful. Things like perseverance, intelligence, breaking ideas down and turning them into businesses, and then coming back to the sport, coming back to and making communities and sports and countries better places to live based on the benefits that we all have together in this great country. So I want to say thank you to you. I want to say thank you to your family, and I want to say thank you to this Minnesota community for your leadership. Thank you. Now, he mentioned 2 colleges, right? So that wasn't always a good thing, right? If you go to 2 colleges, usually something bad happened at the other. And for me, it was I couldn't make weight. So it wasn't an academic issue, it was a weight-making issue. And, I was getting my clock cleaned every day by this kid named Lee Kemp, and I figured, well, I move up a weight class, I'll probably see him again, which was true on all fronts. But at any rate, it is a privilege and a pleasure to be here tonight. The individuals who are being recognized this evening, Wayne Bachman, the Hazelwood family, Dennis Kozlowski, Matt Gafar, are individuals who have now built a foundation on how all of us think our sport should be in the future, what champions look like, what they act like, what they accomplish. When you think about what Dennis did, right? He retires after the 88 games and decides to show up again at the end of 91. Comes back, and in the first round makes the team. How hard is it to make a team, right? I was in 1 Olympic trials. I got completely lucky, had a great draw, got a bye, won some matches, and ended up wrestling this incredibly hairy individual from Minnesota. It was my first real introduction to the Minnesota Wrestling Club. named Gary Pelsel. He's here today, holy cow. And I remember looking at Gary Pelsel, I was 19, and I didn't start shaving until I was about 22. Does any of you remember what Pelsel looked like when he was in his prime, right? Have you ever seen Lord of the Rings? Starring Dwarf King, right? 4'11". The first really, so I swear, you're wearing lips, Gary. I know you are tonight. The first 15 seconds we lock up, I had kind of long arms compared to him. And I got this guy. He body locked me and threw me literally from one side of the mat to the next. But I had a great match with him. I ended up losing. Dan would say it's not a great match, I lost. But I lost 17-14. It was wild. Gary, obviously, was a great wrestler. I was lucky to get there. But it was my first introduction to the Minnesota Wrestling Club and what the Minnesota Wrestling Club meant to the sport of Greco-Roman wrestling. And I must say this sincerely. For a long period of time, the Minnesota Wrestling Club was American Greco-Roman wrestling. It has been the standard bearer of the creation of champions for years. You're looking at the Hazelwood, right? We idolized you guys. I worked and wrestled, and as a kid I used to hitchhike and catch trains to go to the Mary Daly Youth Foundation, which is on the south side of Chicago. And every single one of those great wrestlers, Willie Wiggins, Al Turner, Werner Holzer, Terry McCann, had enormous respect, not only for the Minnesota Wrestling Club, but for the legacy of what Minnesota athletes created for our sport. And outside of Minnesota, one athlete was always on the minds and lips of all those Mary Daly Youth Foundation guys. You know who it was? It was Wayne Bachman. Wayne Bachman was the toughest, most honorable competitor we had in our sport. Everybody knew it. He was a great man, but he was an extraordinary competitor and an extraordinary athlete. And over the years, many greats have followed. I mean, it is so fun tonight to honor the Hazelwood family because of not only what you meant to the sport of wrestling, but what you stand for and who you are, everywhere you've gone. And I say this to people in business and young people all the time. If you want to gauge who you are, ask yourself a serious question about what happens after you enter any situation. Does it get better? Do you lead? Do you make people better? Do you make communities better? Do people care more about each other as a result of you being there? The answer for the Hazelton family, everywhere they've gone, has been yes. Champions on the mat, champions off the mat, champions of heart. I want to say thank you, you guys. You guys have been examples to the world of wrestling and to our country. And to have a son like Sam, who has proven to us all what perseverance and resilience really looks like, and with a tremendous attitude. I have never seen this kid anything but positive under any circumstance. What I mean by that is, he just made stuff work. Who would have thought, after trying to make the Olympic and world team at the senior Greco-Roman level, that he could completely retool his game? And that just doesn't happen and make the Olympic freestyle team. This doesn't happen. We understand the sport, not at this level. But it proves once again that with the right attitude, the right heart, you can do anything. I say this again, wrestlers can do anything. When I think about Kaz, he was obviously very smart, and his career thereafter has proven that. But when you watched him wrestle, he didn't wrestle you, he blew through you. He would put people in positions, these were incredibly powerful people who wrestled at 220. But when he got to you, you were going. You were going. And to prove his mettle, he comes back in 1992, ultimately to become the only wrestler up to that point in time in history to make it to a non-boycotted Games gold medal match, but also to win 2 Olympic medals. But in order to do so, think about it, classic wrestler problem. Who does he draw in the first round? He draws the Polish wrestler, the last guy to beat him in the last Olympics, who went on to win the gold. What does he do? He beats him. He beats him. He knows he has to. He has no choice. There's no tomorrow on this. He does it. That's what champions do, right? They don't ask why or how. They step up and they go. And then they provide a legacy that we honor so that the next generation can see what this looks like. I think of Matt Ghaffari. Matt, in my mind, is as nice a guy as I've ever met in the sport. Legit. Super nice. The Atlanta Games were not a capstone to his career, but they were an example of who he was personally. In the finals, he wrestles a great match against the great Carellin. Has a real chance to win. I mean, this was a great bout. No matter how you measure it, it was a great bout. And in spite of his enormous disappointment, when you think how far he came, ultimately winning 4 medals, the only American Greco-Roman athlete ever to win 4 Olympic and world medals. And we'll talk a little bit about each of these athletes a little bit as the night progresses. But as the Olympic Park bombing incident occurs, what does Matt do? He becomes a leader, right? He leads the U.S. athletes, the Olympic athletes, and the fans and the public back into Olympic Park. He takes his role as a leader. And I love Matt, and I actually had a chance to work with Matt for years. He's as nice as they can get. Everyone likes Matt. Men, women, children, and yes, animals. I had a chance to show some, Matt was very close with Randy Couture. Randy and Trish had a fantastic, an extraordinarily large pot-bellied pig. His name was Fletcher. This pig did not like any person I knew, and particularly did not like me. In fact, when I first met Fletcher, he was frozen, standing in the corner, and I called to him, and I pissed him off because I was supposed not to recognize the fact that he was hiding. He ran over instantly and bit me. Whenever he saw Matt, he got happy, and you'll know why. Fletcher liked the refrigerator, and there was one guest at the Couture home who visited the refrigerator more than anybody. And that was Matt, and he always thought of his friends in the animal kingdom along the way, so Fletcher had easy access to things that might fall out onto the floor. Matt, you are a great guy, and it's wonderful to see the honor that you so well deserve be given to you tonight. And all of you champions, all of you incredible representatives of our sport, in so many different ways, we thank you. I've often said this, and I know Alan believes this, Steve Frazier believes this. You know what? If we had more wrestlers engaged in American politics, American business, American civic and community leadership, our communities, our nation would even be different. I really believe that. Not because they're mean. It's because they're tough and they're disciplined and they understand the difference between right and wrong. They've been living with rules that they can't get around. Nobody can get around. and they understand the sacrifices necessary to make things right, better, and sustainable. And we need more wrestlers in leadership. But we thank you all tonight, the honorees, for this great example. Alan, we thank you for being the leader that you've been for decades in setting the course and the pace, not only with what you say and what you do, but with your resources.